Avadharim Paramanandamagam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So let's just do this live on YouTube. All right. So my warm welcome to all of you for another session on the Bhagavad Gita. Today we will take up chapter 4. But before we do that, we can quickly look at chapter 3. So, Arjuna was trying to be a sannyasi. And Lord Krishna said, you don't have the qualities to be a sannyasi. You don't have the qualifications to be a sannyasi. Therefore, it's best that you stay a kshatriya. I think somebody asked about varna and ashrama yesterday. And hopefully the answer will be clear today when we look at it. So yesterday's chapter was Karma Yoga. It's all about our duties and responsibilities, but in the context of how can we perform our duties and responsibilities and be happy. And Krishna says to do that, you have to not only do your swadharma, but you also have to do your nitya dharma. So nitya dharma cannot be ignored. And nitya dharma is very, very important. Why do we have to do our swadharma? Which is our duties to our family, to society, to nation, etc. Why do we have to do our nitya dharma? Because by doing our swadharma, by doing our swadharma, Krishna says it purifies us. It prepares us to raise our consciousness. So any duty and responsibility that we do, Krishna says it purifies our heart. And yesterday we talked about 3 different types of personalities, right? The karmis, the karma kandis, and the karma yogis. The karmis are no different than animals because whatever the animals do, they also do. They don't have the concept of spirituality, samskaras. None of these things matter to them. Their only priority is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So Krishna calls them, and our shastras call them to be pashu. Pashu means to be an animal. You're just like any other animal. But of course, you will be doing your things in a more sophisticated way. So just because it's being done in a very sophisticated way, it does not make it human. Then we said a karma kandi follows the scriptures, but he does it because it benefits him. Whereas a karma yogi also follows scriptures and also follows Krishna's instructions because it benefits, or rather it pleases Krishna. So that is the fundamental difference between a karma kandi and a karma yogi. And we said today, in today's chapter, we'll understand a little bit more about what is karma. So the word yoga is used in every chapter. The word yoga means union. And here, union with whom? You want to unite with the Lord. Okay, even in lamentation, you want to unite with the Lord. So Arjuna begins with his lamentation. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga. His lamentation causes him to come to the lotus feet of the Lord. Karma yoga. So that action and the set of activities that helps you unite with the Supreme Lord is Karma Yoga. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we said the first 6 chapters are all about Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters are about Bhakti Yoga. And the final 6 chapters are about Jnana Yoga. For all these 3 sections, it's about how by performing karma, you can unite with the Lord. How by focusing on Jnana, you can unite with the Lord. How by performing Bhakti, you can unite with the Lord. So everything involves activity. One set of activity says, I will work for the pleasure of Krishna. Another says, I will study and try to achieve self-realization and thus unite with Krishna. And the third that says, I will dedicate my life to Krishna. I will surrender to Krishna, which is Bhakti Yoga. So we are also going to understand the topics of karma, vikarma, and akarma today, because Krishna will talk about it in the 4th chapter. So we've understood what are our duties and responsibilities. So we have 2 primary duties, Swadharma and Nitya Dharma or Sanatana Dharma. But Sanatana Dharma is very, very important. If you want to be happy, then Krishna says you have to prioritize Sanatana Dharma. If you want to be happy all the time, you have to prioritize Sanatana Dharma. Now, Arjuna does ask a question, why is it sometimes we get trapped into doing the wrong thing and then we suffer the consequences of that? And Krishna says the reason for it is lust. And Krishna uses the word Nitya Vairina, meaning Nitya means forever. Vairi here means enemy. So Krishna says this lust will be your eternal enemy. So generally, if you know where the enemy is, then you will try to destroy them. But where is this enemy? It resides in our sense, it resides in our mind, and it resides and occupies a huge space of our intellect. So to control the senses, Acharya say, or rather to regulate the senses, our Acharya say you have to honor prasadam every day. Prasadam is food that is offered to Krishna and then consumed and honored as prasadam. So that's an austerity. Because you are saying, unless Krishna eats, I will not eat. So that's an austerity. For our mind, how can we regulate the mind? We have to chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because that's the Yuga Dharma. In Kali Yuga, simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, you can unite with the Lord. And then for our intellect, the way we can regulate our intelligence and intellect is by reading the Bhagavad Gita, hearing the Bhagavad Gita, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, because all of these purify us. Some shlokas that we did not cover, because it's very hard to cover the entire chapter in a single hour. Some of the shlokas that we did not cover is Krishna was talking about the concept of sacrifice. So he begins by saying, work must be performed as a sacrifice for the pleasure of Vishnu. Which means he's saying every work that we do, it should be pleasing to Lord Vishnu. Therefore, fighting to please Lord Krishna is work being done as a sacrifice. How is eating becoming a sacrifice? Eating becomes a sacrifice when we offer what we cook to the Lord first and only then take it, then eating also becomes a sacrifice. So in shlokas 14 through 16, Krishna is talking about the cycle of sacrifice. How does the cycle of sacrifice operate? Krishna says all of us have to perform our prescribed duties. Our prescribed duties come from performing yajna. Any type of yajna. Yajna, you could say, is fire sacrifice. Chanting the holy names also is a sacrifice. When we do this yajna, Krishna says it produces rain. When rain comes, it produces grains. And grains nourish the Jivatma. Therefore, this is the cycle of sacrifice that all human beings must perform. We must perform yajna because without yajna, you'll not get good rains. Without good rains, you'll not get good grains. Without good grains, you'll not have nourishment. And your entire life will be spoiled. So Krishna emphasizes this cycle of sacrifice that all of us must perform. And therefore, Vedas talk about prescribed duties and responsibilities. Krishna talks about Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is working because you want to work for the pleasure of Krishna, but you're not attached to the results. Now, Krishna also says, even a sannyasi performs their duties and responsibilities, although the sannyasi has actually given up his family attachments. He's given up his bank account. He's given up his wardrobe. He's given up his looks. He's sacrificed everything. But still, even a sannyasi, Krishna says, performs his duties and responsibilities, even though he doesn't have to. And we talked about role models, how we ourselves have to be a good example for our children. And in that regard, Krishna talks about some examples of role models, which we did not cover yesterday. We talked about role models like Srila Prabhupada, Sri Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. We talked about Shankaracharya. But in the Bhagavad Gita, in shlokas 20 to 24 in chapter 3, Krishna talks about Janaka Maharaj. Who's Janaka Maharaj?
Father of Janaki, Sita.
Mother Sita's father. So he says Janaka Maharaj was an exemplary person just by the way he lived his life. You could follow in his footsteps. So he talks about Janaka Maharaj setting a good example. Then Krishna says there are many other kings and others also who have set good examples. And then Krishna says, why should I talk about Janaka Maharaj and others? What about me? Krishna says, me, Krishna, I am the Supreme Lord. I don't have any duties and responsibilities. But when I came here in your midst, even I performed duties and responsibilities. I woke up early in the morning. I did meditation. I did worship. I took care of my family. I was a dharmic king. So Krishna gives Janaka Maharaj as an example, other great personalities as examples, and then himself as an example. And Krishna says, if I did not do or set an example, then everybody will say, if Krishna did not follow any rules and regulations, why I should follow rules and regulations? So Krishna says, although there is no karmic duties for me because I am the Supreme Lord, even so, to set a good example, I myself was performing duties and responsibilities. So, in essence, Krishna is talking about how we need to regulate our senses, our mind and intelligence if we want to be eternally happy, even though we are here in this material world. In that context, although Krishna talks about lust, he also talks about different degrees of lust. We will not go into that specifically right now. But essentially, Krishna is saying, if you are engaged in my service, then automatically your soul, mind, and intelligence is regulated. So the question is, since Krishna has talked about our duties and responsibilities on the platform of both Swadharma and Nitya Dharma, to perform those duties and responsibilities, we need some knowledge. So first you have an ID card. Your ID card says that you are spirit soul. Okay, so now that you received your ID card, you need to know what your duties and responsibilities are, which Krishna has talked about in chapter 3. But to perform those duties and responsibilities very nicely, you must have some knowledge base. You can't just perform it out of thin air. So that leads us to chapter 4. What is the title of chapter 4? As per the poster. What is the title?
Gyan Yoga.
Part of Gita.
Jnana Yoga. Is that right?
Knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So let us.
Yoga.
So,
Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Mataji.
Karma Sannyasa Yoga. To do your karma and still be like a sannyasi. Is that possible? That's what we are going to see. So before we begin, a quick request to please put your name, your city and state from where you're joining us, as well as your phone number. That will help us track your attendance. So in this particular chapter, here are the 4 sections. The chapter is called Transcendental Knowledge, and the single word summary for today's chapter is knowledge. What is the minimum knowledge that you need to perform your duties so nicely that you'll always be happy? So we're going to learn about eternal knowledge, knowledge that is eternal. It doesn't change. Then we're going to talk about the topic of karma, akarma, and vikarma, because that's where the consequences of your action come. What are the qualifications that we need to receive this knowledge? That is also important, because without that knowledge, we'll not be able to perform our duty properly. And then Krishna concludes with, what is transcendental wisdom? Transcendental means something that transcends the physical realm, the material realm. It is something that we cannot fully perceive or understand, and therefore it is called transcendental. Okay, so now I have a question for you before we begin. Let me see if I can put that poll up. Today's chapter is...
Is this the first poll, ma'am? Because in between I got disconnected.
Yes, this is the first. There we go. How old is the Bhagavad Gita? That's the question. Is it 500 years old, 5,000 years old? Is it more than 5,000 years old? Or we really don't know. More than 5,000 years old.
We are talking about the universe we are in, no, ma'am.
Jen,
Okay.
how old
In
is it?
general. Okay. Because like the universe what we know is actually a multiverse according to the Hindu scriptures, and many of these is repeated events. So that's the reason why I asked. Yeah.
So you mean it's cyclical? Things repeat themselves again and again.
Yes. So basically, the saying history repeats itself is actually true.
Yes. So the yugas repeat themselves. Today we'll find out how old our current Brahma is. The Brahma for our Brahmanda, how old is he? And how long does he live? What's his lifespan compared to our lifespan? Okay. So the majority of you are saying it is more than 5,000 years old. Actually, it's very difficult to date the Bhagavad Gita. We really don't know. All we know is all of this knowledge was revealed by Krishna to Brahma first. So it is like a gazillion years old. But yes, in this context, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna on the battlefield by Krishna. And Krishna himself is going to talk about a little bit about how old the Bhagavad Gita is. So these are the 4 sections. And before we begin, let's just start chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times loudly. That is the sankalpa that we took. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Very nice, thank you. So in chapter 1, Arjuna was confused. In chapter 2, Arjuna surrenders and he's taught Atma Gyan. In chapter 3, Arjuna is told what are the duties he must perform in order for him to be happy. Now, all these are actually instructions from the Lord to Arjuna. The reason we ask that question, do you know how old the Bhagavad Gita is? Because if you said it is 5,000 years old, 500 years old, it means this knowledge is very new. The Bhagavad Gita itself is eternal. It has always existed because the knowledge has always been there with the Lord. It is revealed with a certain, as Mataji rightly said, with certain frequencies based on time, place, and circumstance. So the whole knowledge, the spiritual knowledge is eternal. That means this knowledge did not have birth and it never dies. It'll always be there. Now, it may be hidden from time to time. It may be lost from time to time. But that doesn't mean that the knowledge is new. That doesn't mean just 5,000 years ago, human beings figured out that there is a difference between the soul and the body. This doesn't mean that material knowledge and spiritual knowledge, that they are different. That is not new. None of this is new. But it is new to us because we are discovering it now. We have evinced an interest in learning more about this knowledge. Therefore, everything in the Bhagavad Gita seems new to us. But the knowledge itself always existed. So in the first section, we're going to look at when was this Bhagavad Gita spoken? Why did the Lord come here? Why Krishna is saying, if you know who Krishna is, you will benefit. Even knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, Krishna says that itself, that knowledge itself benefits you. And then we said we will also talk about Varnashrama Dharma because there was a question on that. And I said, I hope in today's chapter we will be able to answer that question. So chapter 4 begins with Krishna speaking. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivaswan manave praha manurikshva kate kave bravit. The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan. And Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. What do you learn from this shloka? What are you learning from this shloka?
That the Bhagavad Gita is actually, transcribed from the Lord himself to the Sun Lord, and then
Mm,
it is then passed down to the human beings through Manu.
yes. So that means Krishna is not speaking the Bhagavad Gita for the first time to Arjuna. Because Krishna himself says, I preached this to Vivaswan, the sun god. Vivaswan in turn handed over this knowledge to Manu. Manu hands it to Ikshvaku, the king in Lord Ram's lineage. And somewhere down the road, that knowledge gets lost. So Krishna says when that knowledge gets lost, then either I have to come and give a class on Bhagavad Gita again, like we are attending this class now, or Krishna will send his representatives to teach this knowledge. What is the word Krishna using here? Imperishable science of yoga. So Krishna is defining Bhagavad Gita as the imperishable science of yoga. The process and the method to unite with the Lord, and that process never changes. It is eternal. So this knowledge has always existed. And what can you learn from the shloka? That there is something called parampara. The parampara started with whom?
From
The
God.
Lord himself.
Brahma.
God's
Lord himself. The parampara started with the Lord himself. And yes, from there to Brahma. So this is the disciplic succession. So the Lord actually teaches this knowledge to Lord Brahma, Lakshmi Devi, Lord Shiva, and the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras are the first Manasik Putras of Lord Brahma. And within each of the Sampradaya, they have a designated Acharya. So in the Lord Brahma Sampradaya, the Acharya is Madhvacharya. In the Sri Sampradaya, the Acharya is Ramanujacharya. In the Rudra Sampradaya, that also propagates this imperishable science, the Acharya is Vishnu Swami. And in the Sanat Kumara Sampradaya, the Acharya is Nimbarkacharya. So Krishna has spoken about the sun god, Manu, and Ikshvaku. But even before the sun god, here is the parampara. From Krishna, the knowledge was transmitted to Lord Brahma. From Lord Brahma to Madhvacharya, and so on and so forth. And ISKCON comes under which sampradaya?
Madhvacharya.
Madhvacharya.
Brahma.
So we are an offshoot of the Madhvacharya. So
Brahma
we link,
Brahma Sampradaya.
Brahma Sampradaya, yes. So our lineage goes to Lord Brahma for those who are practicing in ISKCON. So first Krishna says, I myself have given this knowledge to the sun god. And from there on, it was handed down in the parampara. But here in the second shloka, Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaf parantapa. Krishna is again saying, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, meaning parampara. And the saintly kings understood it that way. That means in those days, in olden days, the kings were well versed in Bhagavad Gita or in this transcendental knowledge. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So Krishna himself is acknowledging from time to time, this knowledge is lost. Can you think about an incarnation of the Lord who comes to rescue the Vedas? They were stolen. Do you remember?
Vedavasa.
Vamana.
Hayagriva. Hayagriva.
Hayagriva.
And Varahadev comes to lift Devi. Hayagriva also comes to rescue the Vedas and hand it back to the rightful owner. Who is the rightful owner of the Vedas?
Brahma.
Brahma. So yes, so you can certainly see how the Lord himself comes in different incarnations to restore what is necessary for society to survive. So if the tradition has broken, then the Lord himself has to create a situation so that this knowledge is revived. That means Krishna is saying, because this comes in the parampara system, this knowledge must also be studied in the parampara system. That tradition has to be kept alive of studying the scriptures. So, but that study has to happen in the context of a sampradaya. So there is this particular shloka from the Padma Purana that we're going to look at before we look at the sampradaya. That says, Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishphalak madaha atah kalau bhavishyanti chatvara sampradayinaha Shri Brahma Rudra Sanakaha Vaishnavaha Kshiti Pavanaha Chatvaraste kalau bhavya hyukale purushottamat. That's the first shloka coming from the Padma Purana. What is the translation of the shloka? Any mantra that is not derived from the Guru Parampara system is useless. That means even to chant a mantra, it should be given in the Parampara system. From Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, 4 transcendental personalities will appear to establish the respective 4 sampradayas. Lakshmi, Brahma, Rudra, and Sanaka Rishihi will be the founding acharyas of the 4 Vaishnava sampradayas. So in the previous slide, you saw the 4 Vaishnava sampradaya, and one of the heads of that sampradaya is Lord Shiva himself. Their teachings will spread from the Purushottama Kshetra. Purushottama Kshetra is the current day Jagannath Puri in Orissa. And in the second shloka, it now tells us, okay, these 4 primary personalities that received this knowledge from Krishna, they in turn had representative acharyas. So Lakshmi Devi chose Ramanujacharya to represent her disciplic succession. In the same way, Lord Brahma chose Madhvacharya. Lord Shiva chose Vishnu Swami, and the 4 Kumaras chose Nimbarka. So this actually comes from a book written by one of our Vaishnava, Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya Acharyas called Sri Baladeva Vidya Bhushan, the second shloka I'm talking to. As to who are the 4 acharyas for the 4 different sampradayas in Kali Yuga. So definitely you would have heard of Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Many of you may not have heard of Vishnu Swami and Nambarkacharya. They represent the other two Vaishnavas. So in the Bhagavad Gita book as it is, you will see this list of parampara. This is the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Why Gaudiya? Because we come in the lineage of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma then transmits this knowledge to his son and disciple Narada, who then transmits it to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva himself teaches this knowledge to Madhvacharya. And from there on, it goes through Padmanabha, Nirhari, then Madhava, Akshobhya, all the way until it is coming to Jagadguru Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada, who is the 32nd Acharya in this line. These are the well-known predominant Acharyas. It doesn't mean there were no Acharyas in between. They may not have been very predominant at that time. But these, that means Srila Prabhupada is 32nd in line from Krishna to receive this knowledge. From Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya, like that. Now, that means without a Guru, we cannot understand the Bhagavad Gita. So, you could say that is the broad summary, that without Guru, one cannot understand scriptures. So scriptures has to be studied under the instructions and guidance of Guru. Of course, there'll come a time when we'll talk about different types of Guru. So to become a doctor, we need teachers. We need institutions. If we didn't have teachers and we didn't have institutions, then the doctors would be considered to be fake doctors. So similarly, there are bona fide paramparas, just like there are bona fide accredited universities that are authorized by the government to issue degrees. The same holds true even for spiritual knowledge or transcendental knowledge, which is the title translation of this particular chapter. Even for transcendental knowledge, there are bona fide paramparas and there are bona fide acharyas from whom you can learn. Why does Krishna come? Krishna himself answers that question. He says, of course, many of you will know the shloka, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Why does Krishna come? For three reasons. To protect his devotees, to kill the demons, and to re-establish dharma. So the three Ds, devotees, demons, dharma. Paritranaya sadhunam, to deliver the pious, and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. So Krishna is saying this is not the first time that I've come. I come with a certain frequency. Krishna is also telling you what is his frequency with which he visits us, which is millennium after millennium. Meaning a millennium is one day of Brahma. So every day Brahma gets to see Krishna after he wakes up. Now you may ask a question. Why should the Lord, who is all-powerful, take the trouble to come from the spiritual world to this God-forsaken place simply to rescue his devotees? What do you think? Why does he have to come personally?
Yes, Mataji. He only created, no? Why he should come? He
He
can do everything.
only he
To
created
end the Kali Yuga. Whenever there is Kali Yuga, God comes and
whenever
rescues.
there is Kali Yuga. Okay. In other
Even
times,
though
the Lord does not come.
Mataji Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Dushtakam
Hmm.
Dharma Samsthapanaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge.
But the question is, why Krishna himself has to come?
Maybe because he loves his creation.
Because he
Loves. He loves what he created. The
loves what
Jivatmas.
he created. Okay. He loves his devotees. So he comes. So one day, Akbar and Birbal were in the palace. And they were talking about Bhagavad Gita. And Akbar asked Birbal, if your Lord is so powerful, why does he take the trouble to come? He can send messengers, he can send missiles, he can do so many different things to take care of the situation. For example, if there is a riot in a small city, will the Prime Minister come personally? Will the President come personally to address the situation? No. They are so powerful and they have such huge machinery at their disposal. They can use that machinery to correct that situation. So if a president or a prime minister has such machinery, wouldn't the Lord also have much more powerful machinery to take care of things? So
Yes,
Akbar was
Mataji.
asking Birbal, why your Lord will take the trouble to come?
Be for righteous dharma, ma'am.
But he can do it through his other devotees. He can send his servants.
It is because
And
we are his sons. We are his santans.
we are his santan. Okay, very good. So Birbal kept quiet when Akbar asked this question. One day they were going on a boating trip. Akbar was there with his son and his minister and his security guards. And Birbal suddenly picks up Akbar's son and drops him in the water. The son does not know how to swim. Akbar was so shocked to see his favorite minister do something such a ghastly act. He dived into the river, into the water to rescue his son and put him back on the boat. Once Akbar climbed back on the boat, Akbar said, how dare you do such a dastardly act? You should receive a death sentence for what you did. Birbal said, my dear king, before you put me to death, I have one question for you. Your security guards were on the boat. Your ministers were on the boat. You could have easily ordered them to go jump into the river because you have more important things to do. Why did you jump personally? Akbar said, what kind of a silly question is that? It's my son. I love him. He means more to me than anything else. So Birbal simply looked at Akbar and said, similarly, the Lord also comes personally because he loves his devotees. To express his love for his devotees, he comes. If the Lord wanted to destroy the demons, he can do one earthquake, one tsunami, and everybody is gone. If the Lord wanted to re-establish dharma, he can send acharyas like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. He does not have to personally come. The Lord primarily comes because we are his children and he loves us. It is the children who are obedient, he comes for them. Because the ones who are disobedient anyway don't want Krishna in their life. So Akbar understood that when you have deep love for your own child, you will be ready to risk your own life to save your child. So similarly, Krishna doesn't hesitate to come. Therefore, what is Krishna's first priority? Paritranaya sadhuna. I come to protect my devotees. And how he came out of the pillar to protect his young devotee, Prahlad. And you could question, why didn't the Lord come earlier? To demonstrate to us what a great devotee Prahlad was. So Krishna himself is telling us here in this particular shloka, what is the benefit of knowing that he is the Supreme Lord? Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deha punardeham punarjanma naiti mameti sojuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So in this chapter called Karma Sannyasa Yoga, or transcendental knowledge, Krishna is saying, what is the benefit of you knowing this transcendental knowledge? What is this transcendental knowledge? To know that Krishna is a Supreme Lord, that every time he comes, no matter in which avatar he comes, all of his activities are also transcendental. And the devotee who understands this, after this birth, they don't have to take birth again. So that is the benefit of knowing who is Krishna. Then you don't have to take birth again. This is your last life. Then Krishna switches gears to Varnashrama. So we'll discuss this particular topic. So in the 13th shloka, Krishna is saying, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaram abhimam vidya kartaram avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. So Krishna is saying he created the Varnas and the Ashrama. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So this Varna, as well as the Ashrama, specifically the Varna, can be a very sensitive topic, especially in India, because it's very, very misunderstood. So here Krishna is clearly saying he has created the system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, of Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi, the four ashramas. The four varnas indicate the type of work that you're engaged in. And here Krishna is saying, what determines the type of work that you do? Guna and karma. The type of work that you do is determined by the guna that you are under the influence of. Is it sattva gun? Is it rajogun? Is it tamogun? If all of your activities are under the influence of sattva gun, and the work that you do is aligned to sattva gun, then you can say you're a Brahmana. Krishna did not say your varna comes by birth. No. Krishna says, guna karma vibhagasha. What decides whether you're a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra? It is the guna that you are under the influence of. And because you're under the influence of a particular guna, you will have a tendency to choose a profession that is going to be dictated by that guna. So that means nobody is a Brahmana by birth. Nobody is a Kshatriya by birth. Everybody is a Shudra by birth. And from birth, by the qualities that you are carrying from previous births, and by your own desires and by your own training, samskaras, that decides which varna you're in. So is that clear? Nobody is born into a Brahmin family. You can only call yourself a Brahmana as per Krishna if you are predominantly under the influence of Sattvagun and your nature, your qualities and your work are all aligned to Sattvagun. The qualities of being under Sattvagun. So you may be born a Brahmana, but you may be a practicing Kshatriya. That means technically there is no such thing as by birth. That is what Krishna is saying. But if you look at it, the Brahmanas, you could say, are the intellectual class. The intellectual class are supposed to study the scriptures. And they are supposed to be the head and the brains of society, helping the rest of society go back to Krishna, to escape this prison house. That is the role of the Brahmana community, to help the other communities go back to Krishna. The Kshatriyas or the administrative class also exists in all societies. Their main role is to provide good governance, to collect taxes and provide for the poor and the needy. And nobody should not have, unemployment should not be a feature of a good king. Everybody should be gainfully employed in a kingdom. Because the king considers himself to be a representative of the Lord, therefore Krishna says, Imam Vivasvate Rajan. Yes, he says Raja Rishihi. The Rajas themselves were rishis in those days. They were well versed in scriptures. And one such example is Janaka Maharaj that Krishna has given in the 3rd chapter. Similarly, in every society, you have the mercantile class. Mercantile class means they engage in business transactions. They buy and sell things. They make profit. And in every society, there is a group of people who help and support the other 3 varnas. There is no exception to this rule. So this is not something that is unique to India. It is there in all cultures. It's just in our culture it has gotten misused by the upper class people. So in the Srirangam temple, you know, there are many great devotees of the Lord called the Alvars. And there was one such Alvar who was born from a lower class apparently, but he was such a great devotee of the Lord. He would just go mad singing the glories of the Lord. And one day he was doing that near the river Kaveri. And the priest from the Srirangam temple had to go collect water to go bathe the Lord. And he got really irritated and annoyed because this gentleman was singing praises of the Lord and blocking his way. The priest was a Brahmana. The devotee of the Lord was a so-called Shudra. So he gets really annoyed saying, my whole day is spoiled by seeing this low caste person. So he picks up a rock and throws it at him, telling him, you better get aside. You know. I'm like pure. I'm taking something to bathe the Lord. So when he reaches the temple, the doors of the temple are locked. He's not able to get in. And the priest becomes very frantic. He asks the Lord, what happened, what happened, what happened? And the Lord says, why did you hurt my devotee? He was just glorifying me. So I refuse to open the doors and accept your worship until you go bring him, put him on your shoulders and bring him to my doorstep. So the priest recognized the severity of what he had done, and also what a commotion it would create if the Lord refuses to open the door so that worship can continue. So he goes, finds this Alvar, carries him on his shoulder, and the Alvar is lost in singing the glories of the Lord. When he brings him to the doorstep, then the Lord opens the door. Similarly, there is a wonderful story in South India about Muslim.
Udupi, Sri Krishna.
Udupi Shri Krishna, yes, that the Lord turned, right, away from the entrance so that his devotee could see him through the back window. Yes. So there is another beautiful pastime of Bibi Nachiyar. She is associated with Sri Ramanujacharya. In those days, under the Mughal rule, there was one
Guruvayur Krishnan temple. Guruvayur Krishnan temple.
Yes, there also.
This is in Melkote.
This is in Melkote, yes. Also in Sri Rangam, there is an altar for Bibi Nachiyar. Yes, in Melkote specifically. Even in Sri Rangam, because Bibi Nachiyar was such a great devotee of the Lord, even today they offer rotis to the Lord. Normally in South India, when you offer Naivedyam to the Lord, roti is not part of what you offer. It's usually rice. But the influence has come because of the great devotee of the Lord. So she was a princess who later on becomes a divine consort of Lord Ranganath. So
why we should not offer rice?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I'll take the questions a little later because it is, since I'm trying to talk about a pastime, we can just finish the pastime. And then at the end of the class, maybe we can take up some questions. So anyway, word broke that this Muslim king was about to attack Sri Rangam, and he did. And he plundered all of the jewelry, and he also took away the deities, the smaller deities. And what the king ends up doing is he melts all of the deities and converts them into just whatever gold or metal or something. At that time, he had a very young daughter. And one of the deities that was taken from the temple was the Ranganatha deity, not the large one, the Pacha Vigraha. So through divine vision, Sri Ramanujacharya understood what had happened. And that deity is very dear to the temple and to the Vaishnavas. So he decides to travel all the way to the north, to Delhi, to request that the deity be returned. By now, what had happened is that the young child had become attached to her, it was like a little doll. She begged her father that she wanted to keep that doll so that he wouldn't melt it and sell it or whatever it is. So he allowed his daughter to play with Ranganathan. And she becomes so attached when Ramanujacharya reaches and he tells the king, please return the deity to me. And the daughter is frantic. Obviously, she doesn't want to be separated from someone who she had fallen in love with. And she was playing with and spending her time. So the king said, look, my daughter is very attached to the deity. I don't think I can give it to you. And then somehow the other Ramanujacharya convinces him. He calls for the Lord with so much love in his voice. Therefore, in Melkote, this is called Chaluva Narayana. In Tamil, it is Selva Narayana, meaning someone who is very, very attractive and loving. So he simply calls to the Lord, and the Lord jumps out of Bibi Nachiyar's tiny arms and ends up in Ramanujacharya's arms. So the king said, okay, since the deity has come into your arms on its own, I presume that the deity wants to come back with you. But by now, this young girl, this Muslim girl, was so much in love with the Lord, she could not bear the separation. So as Ramanujacharya takes the deity back, of course, today it's there in Melkote, Bibi Nachiyar follows. And it is said that she couldn't bear the separation from her Lord, that in Melkote, she enters into the heart of the Lord. So if you go to this Chalava Narayana temple in Melkote, you will see a small deity of Bibi Nachiyar at the lotus feet of the Lord, signifying that she is a great devotee. Yeah. So here, the Lord does not look at your jati. He doesn't care whether you're Brahman, Brahmana, whatever it is. You're blind, you're talented, you're intelligent, you're powerful, you're not, you're weak. The Lord does not look at any of this at all. What does the Lord look for? If Varna and Ashram do not matter to the Lord, what is the Lord looking for?
Devotion and bhakti.
He's looking for your love. To the Lord, He doesn't see your externals. He is only saying, do you have love for me? If you do, then paritranaya sadhuna. Then you should be assured that I will protect you. Now, how the Lord protects you is up to Him. It's not going to be dictated by you. So now in this particular section, the third section, we're going to come to the interesting topic of karma, karma, and vikarma. So what do you see here on the left? What is that?
Dwarkavasi.
Huh? Is that a laptop?
Yes.
Okay, what are the components of a laptop? Does it have hardware?
Yes, input devices, output devices, processing unit. So basically, input devices are the keyboards and the mouse pad what you use on the laptop, and
So
the
you could
output
broadly
is
say
basically the screen.
hardware, software, and applications. Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hardware, software, and applications. How many of you use a laptop or a computer? Most of us?
Most
Yes.
of us, yes.
Yeah.
Even our phones are
Do you know how the
computers.
software operates? Do you know how the applications operate? Do you know how the hardware operates before you can actually use a laptop or a computer? Do you have to know everything about the laptop in order to use it?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
No, not necessary.
No, not at all. You don't know what application is running, who has programmed it, how it is operating. You just need to know how to use it, correct?
Yes, Mataji.
We only need to learn how
Yes.
to use the machine. We need not know how it was manufactured, where it was manufactured, who did the programming. None of that matters. We do not know how it operates. We only need to know how to utilize it. If we had to learn every single thing about the laptop before we can use that particular machine, none of us would be using it. So we just figure out this is how it functions and these are the benefits and this is how I can use it. So the more you know about the laptop, maybe you are a better user. So similarly, the more you know about what is human life, then you become a better user of that human life. You use it for the right purposes. So because this body is a yantra, it's a machine. If you know how to operate it, that's all that is necessary. You have to operate it the right way for it to sing the glories of the Lord. So Krishna introduces the topic actually already in Shloka 16, but we'll look at 17. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam, bodhavyam chapi karmanaha, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. Here Krishna is saying the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So if you want to use the laptop, how to properly use the laptop is all you need to know. How you should not use the laptop, you should know. How you shouldn't allow the laptop to be idle, that also you should know the consequences of that. So there are three terms Krishna has used here in the shloka. Karma, vikarma in the second line, and in the third line, Krishna has used the term akarma. So now we're going to look at what this really means. So three terms, karma, vikarma, and akarma. So this short table makes it very clear to us what is the difference between these three terms and what does it really mean to us. Karma means performing those activities by following the scriptures. And because you're following the scriptures, Krishna has to reward you. So you collect a lot of credits called punya. And Krishna has to reward you for how much punya you have collected. And how does Krishna reward you? By promoting you to the higher planets and giving you a better birth. This is called karma. What is vikarma? Vikarma means you are not following Krishna's instructions. Therefore, you end up doing a lot of sinful activities and therefore you accumulate a lot of papa. So just as you are rewarded for doing good, Krishna has to punish you if you are violating his laws. And how does Krishna punish you? By sending you to the lower planetary systems or sending you into lower species of life. So just because you have taken human birth does not mean you can't go back to being a bird or an insect or a tree. This is the karma. What is a karma? See, for karma, you have to do actions. Those actions Krishna considers good, for which he will reward you. So the karma also you do actions which Krishna considers bad, for which he has to punish. Okay, why is this third category called akarma? Because akarma means any activity that you do for the pleasure of Krishna has no papa and no punya. And that is why Krishna says, if I am telling you to kill Arjuna, you need not worry because you will not experience the sinful reactions for that killing because you're simply following my instructions. So akarma, there is a complete separate account that Krishna keeps track. For your papa and punya, other devatas keep track of it. But any spiritual activity that you do, Krishna has a separate account for you, which nobody else has access to. And what is the benefit of this? By doing spiritual activities, you experience bliss, and ultimately you will go back to the spiritual world. So this is akarma. So Krishna himself is saying in the 17th shloka that we just read, these three terms, very difficult to understand. Even the most well-learned rishis, they also get confused by this, how it operates. So Krishna is saying, you need not worry how the hardware operates, how the software operates, how the applications operate. You just need to know, if I do this, computer will function well. If I do this, computer will go in through to some glitch. So similarly, this body you have to use to perform the right activities. And in Krishna's opinion, the right activities are activities to please him, not to please yourself. So essentially, akarma means Krishna is the center of your universe. You do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. You don't care about any consequences that come to you. So that is akarma. Okay, so now I have a question. So what do you want to do? You want to do karma, akarma, or vikarma? After learning what Krishna means by these three terms.
The last one, akarma.
So all of you want to do akarma?
Yes,
Of
yes,
course,
Mata.
yeah.
Yes. So that means all of us want to please Krishna, which is great. So that is what we should prioritize now. So essentially, Krishna is telling us we have to construct and build our life in such a way where we are only doing a karma. Because if you're only doing a karma, you are under the protection of the Lord. And there is a sweet pastime in this regard. Once Hanuman was flying somewhere, and he came across one more devotee who was always chanting the names of Lord Ram. However, this gentleman was chanting the names of Lord Ram in the toilet. Hanuman got very angry. He said, how dare he offend the name of my dear Lord by taking the name of my Lord while he's in the toilet. So he comes down to this gentleman's house and slaps him and takes off flying. When he arrives, Lord Ram is sitting there holding his cheek. And Hanuman asks, my dear Lord, what happened? He says, why did you hit my devotee? Hanuman says, what devotee? Who did I hit? He said, just now you stopped by. My devotee was just chanting and calling for me. What's your problem? And Hanuman thought, no, there is a particular way in which you call out, How can you violate certain rules and regulations? So when it comes to bhakti, there are no rules and regulations in the Lord's eyes. The Lord is simply looking to see how much you love him and how much you remember him. If you can come to the point in life where you never forget Krishna, that's exactly what it means to be Krishna conscious, which means you're always remembering Krishna. Actually, Krishna says in one of the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhakti Yoga section, Satatam kirtayanto mam. Krishna himself says, do you know what my devotees do? They are always talking about me. They're always thinking about me, they're always remembering me. Therefore, I become their servants. This is a karma. This is a karma. There's a beautiful pastime behind this picture. Maybe if we have time, we'll talk about that pastime. So to the last section of chapter 4. Here is a beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada, deeply engrossed in some discussion with his disciples. To learn all of this knowledge, what is akarma, what is vikarma, what is karma, how to love Krishna, how to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna himself is telling you what is the qualification you need to understand this transcendental knowledge. Remember, Krishna has given us a promise in the 9th shloka by saying, anybody who understands me and my transcendental pastimes and qualities will not have to take birth again. But to get to that point, you have to start somewhere. And that starting point is Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. Now, Krishna gave 3 reasons why he comes: devotees, demons, dharma. Krishna gives 3 instructions for us on why we should accept a guru: submissive inquiry, service, and surrender. 3 S's. So Krishna is saying here, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So what is Krishna telling Arjuna? If you really want to know about the spiritual world, about the Supreme Lord, then you have to approach a guru. Inquire from him submissively and then render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So Krishna's instruction to you and me is to learn the Bhagavad Gita, to learn the Srimad Bhagavatam, to learn how to love Krishna, to learn how to perform Bhakti Yoga. You must approach a bona fide guru coming in a bona fide parampara. You must ask questions. You must also render service to such a guru. If you do these 2 things, surrender to him and serve him, then the guru will reveal to you who Krishna is. Because guru has already seen Krishna. He has understood the tattva. Therefore, to receive this wisdom, you must have a living guru whom you are serving and whose instructions you are following. So spiritual knowledge should be received from an acharya of a bona fide sampradaya through humble submission, submissive inquiry, service, and surrender. Okay. And to the last shloka for today. Krishna is saying, don't worry about your past activities, because we all have a sinful past. Apiched asi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Krishna is saying, do not worry about what you've done in the past. Once you've accepted me as a Supreme Lord and you're serving Guru, you're automatically serving me. So through this transcendental knowledge, you will be able to enter the spiritual world. So this is the promise that Krishna is making to us. A lot of us may think, Is that even possible for me to go back to Krishna in this lifetime? Krishna is saying, don't worry. I don't want you to constantly think about all the wrong things that you've done in your life. But I do want you to make a move in the right direction. So we are now going to look at examples from outside the Bhagavad Gita. So after the Mahabharat war ended and Bhishma Dev is lying on a bed of arrows, Yudhishthir has a lot of doubts. Arjuna's doubts were clarified and then he fought. Now the war is over. Now Yudhishthir has doubts. So much killing I have done. I am going to be responsible for all of this. What kind of king am I supposed to be? He's so despondent. Even Krishna is not able to console Yudhishthira. So Krishna tells him, you go, clarify all your doubts. My greatest devotee is lying there on a bed of arrows. I am trying to tell you that all of this is happening as per my plan, but Yudhishthir was not ready to listen to Krishna only. So sometimes we are not ready to listen to the Lord, but we're ready to listen to someone that we really look up to. And in this case, Yudhishthir Maharaj had a great deal of reverence and respect for his grandfather, Bhishma. So instead of Krishna saying, okay, I finished speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna didn't say, okay, come, Yudhishthir, sit down. I am going to sit and talk to you about the Bhagavad Gita again. This time, Krishna directs Yudhishthir to his great devotee Bhishma. Because Yudhishthir was unwilling and not ready to accept that he primarily was responsible for all of this killing. Even though Krishna tried to console him by telling him, look, all of this is happening as per my plan. So he sends him to Bhishma Dev. So when he goes to Bhishma Dev, he asks Bhishma Dev, why did all of this have to happen? And Bhishma Dev said, see, the father of time is sitting right there. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 11th chapter, Kalosmi, I am time. And time comes in the form of death. So Bhishma Dev reassures Yudhishthir that he didn't do anything wrong at all. It was the right thing to punish the adharmic. It was the right thing to kill Duryodhana and all his brothers. So somehow Krishna is not able to pacify Yudhishthir, but Bhishma Dev is able to pacify Yudhishthir Maharaj. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj asks Bhishma Dev, how can I be a good king? How can I make sure that all of my citizens are happy? And what is the ultimate duty for all of us human beings? And some of this conversation is captured in the very famous and well-known Vishnu Sahasranam. So in this shloka, Yudhishthira is asking a question, Kimekam daivatam loke kim vapyekam parayanam stuvantah kam archanta prapnuyur manava shubham. So Yudhishthira is asking, what is the sole divinity in the world? In other words, what is the one supreme goal for all of the human beings? So the first question Yudhishthira is asking Bhishma Dev is, what is the primary duty for all human beings? We already heard the answer yesterday, which is our Sanatana Dharma, which is to worship the Lord. So Yudhishthira is asking the same question, but he's asking the question of Bhishma Dev. By praising whom, by worshipping whom can men obtain the goal? So whom should we praise, whom should we worship so that we can reach that ultimate goal? Yeah. Then he says, Ko dharmas sarva dharmanam bhavatah paramo matah kim japan muchyate jantur janma samsara bandhanat. What duty of all duties do you think is supreme? The duty to perform bhakti to Krishna. By repeating whose name is a creature freed from the bondage of birth and transmigration. So just like Arjuna had questions to Krishna and Krishna patiently guided him, Yudhishthir has questions for Bhishmadev and Bhishmadev responds to him. So you see in our scriptures, everything is in the format of question and answers. The student asks questions, the teacher teaches and responds. So what does Bhishmadev tell Yudhishthir in response to all the questions that he has asked? Jagat Prabhum Deva Devam Anantam Purushottamam Stuvan Nama Sahasrena Purushav Satatotthita. So Bhishmadev is saying, the Lord of the world, the God of gods, the infinite, the supreme person. By praising him constantly by means of his 1,000 names, a person is always uplifted. So Bhishmadev is saying, Yudhishthir, to all the questions you asked me, the answer is very simple. You should just chant the holy names of the Lord. That's all you have to do. It is not only the process, it is also the goal. So in this case, the process and the goal is the same. So similarly, Parvati Devi is worried. She is telling Lord Shiva, Vishnu Sahasranam and Kali Yuga, who's going to memorize, who's going to remember? Will they even have time? They are so busy working hard. Can't you give them something simpler? Who's going to remember the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu? Who's going to have time in Kali Yuga to do that? So give my children something quick and easy because they are not great scholars. Yes, the Brahmanas, they will figure out how to memorize the Vishnu Sahasranam and recite it. But what about my other children who are not that intelligent, who are not that bright? To which Lord Shiva says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanani. Well, if they cannot recite the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, all they have to do is chant one name, Rama 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 Rama. So chanting the name of Rama 3 times is the same as reciting the entire Vishnu Sahasranam. So if it takes 25 minutes to recite the Vishnu Sahasranam, you get the same effect in 2 seconds by chanting Rama Rama Rama. So Lord Shiva has addressed Parvati Devi's question. Keep it simple. Because Kali Yuga Vasis, they are my children. They are so fallen. Somebody has to help them. Similarly, Lord Brahma also wants to know what's the easy way out in Kali Yuga. Sahasranam nam punyanam trira vritya tu yat alam eka vritya tu krishnasya namaikam tat prayachate. So 1,000 names of the Lord is equal to 1 name of Rama. That means if you chant Rama, Rama, Rama 3 times, you already recited the entire Vishnu Sahasranam 3 times. However, if you chanted the name of Lord Ram 3 times, it is equivalent to chanting Krishna once. So if you chant Krishna once, it means you have chanted Rama, Rama, Rama. It means you've chanted the 3,000 names or the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu 3 times. Simply by reciting Krishna once, you have chanted Vishnu Sahasranam 3 times. So that means the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu in Vishnu Sahasranam is equal to 1 name Rama. Chanting the name Rama 3 times is equal to chanting Krishna once. That means chanting Krishna once is equivalent to chanting Vishnu Sahasranam 3 times. So the merit attained by chanting the 1,000 holy names of Vishnu thrice is attained by chanting Krishna's name only once. That is why the Kali Yuga Dharma is to simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra repeatedly, you will be performing a karma, which is what we said we all want to do. So all we have to do in Kali Yuga is chant the holy names of the Lord. Of course, who else is supporting this? Shankaracharya and his Bhaja Govindam. In the very first verse, he says, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Murdhamate. He is saying, oh fool, wake up. All you have to chant and who you have to worship is Govinda. You know, spending hours and hours studying Sanskrit grammar, logic, tarka, and all of this is not going to help you at the time of death. Your grammar is not going to come to your rescue at the time the spirit soul leaves the body. But what is going to help you? If you remember Krishna at the time of death, then Krishna himself will come to take you back. So, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jhatare Shayanam, Iha Samsare Bahudushtare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare, born again, death again. Birth again to stay in the mother's womb. It is indeed hard to cross this boundless ocean of samsara. O Murari, redeem me through thy mercy. Shankaracharya is saying, God, again and again I have to occupy a womb. Birth after birth, I have to go through the cycle. Please, my dear Lord, have mercy on me. O Murare. So, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram, Dhyeyam Sripati Rupam Ajasram, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Murdhamate. Regularly recite from the Bhagavad Gita. Meditate on Vishnu. Of course, here the reference is to the Vishnu Sahasranam. And chant his 1,000 glories. Take delight to be with the noble and the holy. Distribute your wealth and charity to the poor and the needy. And focus all of your attention on chanting the holy names of the Lord. And finally, why is this mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, important for us is there is an Upanishad called the Kali Santarana Upanishad. There it is clearly said, Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kali Kalmashanashanam Nataf Parattaropayah Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. These 16 names, the Hare Krishna mantra, are the only way to defeat the ill effects of Kali Yuga. There is no other way to cross the ocean of birth and death than to chant these holy names. This is the final verdict of all the Vedas. So maybe in other yugas, you can observe other types of processes to go back to the Lord. But in Kali Yuga, the simplest and easiest way to go back to the Lord is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So tomorrow, we'd like to invite all of you to join 10 minutes early than when the class usually begins. So we can all chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 108 times. So we can get rid of many sins that we have committed, not just in this life, but in many lifetimes that we cannot even imagine. We do not know what we've done. But please do join us from tomorrow, 10 minutes early we will start. So we'd like all of you to take that sankalpa of chanting the holy names of the Lord until we finish the 18 chapters. So thank you very much for patiently hearing this wonderful chapter, the 4th chapter, where the single word summary was knowledge. What knowledge? Knowledge about who is Krishna, why he comes, why we should worship him, and what's the benefit of worshipping Krishna. Okay, so any questions now, if you have, be happy to take it. I do not know if the question on Varna got answered today from whoever had the doubt the other day. Okay, any questions?
Mataji, you said you will say one pastime.
Yes. If there are questions, we'll take those questions and then that pastime with the fruit vendor we can talk about.
Yesterday you told 3 words, ma'am, I forgot. One is that a disciple should learn, listen, learn, and implement.
Listen, learn, and apply. Yeah, implement. Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a question here in the chat where I guess the question is, how do you know what is, I suppose the question is, how do we know which guna we are under the influence of? Is that the question?
Correct. Correct.
Because if we have to judge ourselves, we may be making a lot of erroneous judgments, much to our advantage, unfortunately. It's best to seek guidance from someone who is senior. This is why we should, when we are practicing bhakti yoga, you should have somebody guiding you so that you can get all of your doubts cleared. Am I doing it right? What are the corrections that I need to make? How do you know you are under the influence of Sattva Gun? Krishna is going to tell you what are the qualities a person has under the influence of Sattva Gun. You can wait for that chapter to come. Krishna repeats these qualities multiple times. In the 16th chapter, he talks about Daiva Sura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. In the 18th chapter, again, he talks about the qualities of a Brahmana. Brahmana means you are in Sattva Guna. So you can look at some of those qualities and decide for yourself, are you there or you have a long way to go? Yeah.
Ma'am, that Sloka video, YouTube, can you send the link?
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel.
What's the name, ma'am? Your name only? Navadvipa.
Yeah. Chinmay, can you post the channel link here so they can subscribe? And maybe you can post the playlist for Shloka a day, which teaches you how to recite the Bhagavad Gita Shloka.
You'll put to the group, ma'am, or here in this chat?
In the chat, I'm requesting Chinmay to post. Anyway, in the group, you are seeing the video posted, right, of the recordings. So there you can go check it out. There is something called playlist once you go to the channel. If you go to the playlist, there is a playlist called BG Shloka a day. There you will find quite a few chapters of shlokas being recited. Yeah. Okay, there is a... Okay, so your question is, every time the Bhagavad Gita is spoken, does that mean Mahabharata also has been fought? No. So if the Mahabharata knowledge is more than 5,000 years old, the Kurukshetra war has been fought previously as well. Yes, in different cycles of the Chatur Yugas, wars will be fought, players may be different. But yeah, as one of the Matajis said, history has a tendency to repeat itself. Yeah. Guru comes when we are ready, or we have to first find Guru to become capable of How does Guru come into a life? Well, first of all, if you want a Guru, if you sincerely want a Guru in life, you should be praying to Krishna, saying, Krishna, please send me somebody who I can look up to and follow the instructions of. And yes, when you are trying to please Krishna, Krishna himself will send you the Guru. So it's a multiple pronged approach. One is you have to pray that you'll find the right mentor to guide and support you. Can Sri Krishna be our Guru? Well, Krishna himself had a Guru when he was growing up. Krishna says, it is better to be the servant of my servant than to try to be my servant directly. Because the qualifications are very, very high to become directly a servant of Krishna. And Krishna says, my devotees are far more compassionate and merciful than me. Why does Krishna say that? It's not easy to please Krishna, but it's easy to please his devotees. Why does Krishna say, my devotees are more compassionate than me?
Because he loves his devotees.
Huh?
He loves his devotees and they followed his righteous path.
He loves his devotees. So if his beloved devotee says to him, Krishna, you accept this person. They're serving very nicely. I've observed them so nicely. They're doing every seva. Please accept them as your devotee. So if Krishna's devotee instructs Krishna to accept another devotee, Krishna cannot refuse. But if you want to get certification directly from Krishna, you may have to wait for many, many lifetimes. So it's easier for Krishna to accept a recommendation letter from your Guru, and he will easily sign off on it because Krishna is only too happy to please his devotees. Therefore, devotees of Krishna are more compassionate than Krishna. If a great devotee of the Lord goes to the Lord and says, accept this person as your disciple, the Lord cannot refuse. Okay, there's a question about why there are no women considered in the list which you showed us. Because traditionally speaking, in a relationship, in a husband-wife relationship, the husband is considered to be the guru for the wife. A dharmic husband is worshipped by a dharmic wife as her guru. Therefore, she has to be obedient. It doesn't mean women were not well versed in scriptures. It doesn't mean women were not great devotees of the Lord. As a matter of fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, who is glorified as the greatest devotee?
It's Radha.
Srimati Radharani. And along with her, all the gopis, they are the greatest devotees of the Lord. So just because their names are not coming in the list of the acharyas doesn't mean they are not devotees. And as a woman telling another woman, everything should not be looked through the lens of feminine or masculine.
Even Mirabai was a great devotee. Huh?
Sorry?
Mirabai was also a great devotee.
Yes. As a matter of fact, Prabhupada said it is very easy for women to perform bhakti. It is very hard for men to do it. Why did he say that? Why did Prabhupada say it is very easy for women to perform bhakti? It is very hard for men to do it. Why do you think he said that?
Women are more compassionate, more loving, caring, or maybe because they give birth, they understand the.
Because women have more faith. Therefore, they can advance in bhakti much faster than men. Men have a huge problem with logic, rationale. Everything has to make sense first before a man can become a great bhakta of the Lord. A woman simply has faith because she is simple.
Also willing to surrender. I think women are mostly able to.
Yes. And hence I said, Prabhupada said, women are more simple and therefore for them faith comes easily.
Yes, true.
Yes. So because faith comes easily, surrender also may come easily. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
I want to ask that today we have learned that we should do a karma. So I have a question that people who are doing jobs and businesses, they certainly need to do some good and bad deeds on daily basis. So what should they do to do a karma?
So when you say good and bad deeds, what does that mean?
Some like they have to say some lies and offend someone. Like in jobs, we cannot treat everyone very nicely. Sometimes we need to disobey some rules also, and some of similar problems I am talking about.
Okay. There are man's laws and then there are God's laws. The Lord has a certain set of expectations of us in how we deal with others and in how we deal with Him. So there should be no reason to treat anybody else unfairly just because it is part of business. Yeah. So there are some subtle nuances here. However, that being said, you can always do a karma because simply by worshipping Krishna, simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, you can always do a karma. The smaller things, mistakes that we make in life, we need not worry too much about it. Over a period of time, Krishna himself will teach us how to handle those situations in a manner that is better for us spiritually. Initially, we may struggle, but as we keep practicing Krishna consciousness, ultimately, who will become a better human being?
We ourselves.
You yourself will become a better human being.
Yes.
So not to worry. Not to worry at all.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. Just chant the holy names of the Lord regularly every day. And Krishna himself, as Krishna is sitting within you as Chaitya Guru, as Paramatma, as conscience. So sometimes when you do wrong, there is a small voice that tells you, why did you do that?
Yes, yes, always.
Yes. Then you know you're doing something wrong. So you can use that small voice to guide you and stop you from doing wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then, yeah, there are certain activities we absolutely should not do. We should not kill other jivatmas unnecessarily. Yeah, we may have arguments, fights, disagreements with others. That's okay. We should not unnecessarily cause distress also. But definitely we should, as part of our job requirement, we shouldn't be killing other jivatmas. If we are, then it's time to look for a new job.
Yes.
Okay. because certain jobs will not be conducive for you to perform bhakti. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Okay. Any other questions? And who had the question about Varna? I hope that got answered.
Yes, Mataji, I had that question in the previous sessions. Yes. But the concept of Varna is actually very vast that, we have to have a lot of in-depth knowledge to understand that as well. So maybe I want to research more on that.
There are two types of Varnashrama. There is Daivi Varnashrama and there is Asuri Varnashrama. In Daivi Varnashrama, Krishna is in the center. In Asuri Varnashrama, who is in the center?
Shukracharya, maybe?
You are in the center.
Okay.
In the sense, you only care about yourself.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Hari Bol. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 5. Thank you for joining me every day. I really appreciate it. But tomorrow, please do come 10 minutes before so we can all chant at least one mala of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay? So please take that sankalpa and begin your journey of doing a karma. Right. Vancha kalpadarupyascha prabha sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare